And now to the interview portion that we have prepared for you this afternoon in terms of technology and sustainability. Now, dear viewer, did you know that we produced over 50,000 of e-waste annually and we have no capacity of recycling it? So what impact does it have on the environment? And given that the country is focusing on a green economy, a little bit history is that electronic waste processors are calling for the propeller development, implementation and monitoring of e-waste policies if the country is to be sustainably controlled the disposal and recycling of discarded electronic devices. To have this conversation with us this afternoon, joining us in studios is Frederica Cheng, the communications manager for OPPO Kenya. Welcome to the show, Frederic.
Thank you so much.
Karibu sana. The first question is on that particular bit. We are producing over 50,000 of e-waste annually as a country, and of course, given that you work for OPPO, a technological giant, so how are you focusing your company in addressing such issues, given that now as a country we're focusing on economic sustainability?
So for OPPO Kenya, we are looking at different ways whereby you're able to limit electronic waste. For instance, we've come up with programs like the trade-in program, whereby a user wants, for instance, you no longer want to use your device, you can trade it into any other trading company and you're able to get a different device. That's one way. The second way is through the use of recyclable material from our packaging, in terms of the small pieces that are used while making up of the phone. Through the power of AI, we've found different ways whereby AI can be able to detect this, for example, a chipset. Through its constant use, it can stay for this, for example, like 5 years, 10 years, such kind of things. So we are using a lot of integration of AI, plus also trying to also reduce our carbon footprint across the board. Yeah.
And of course, this is some of the issues that even came last year from the ACS 2023 in terms of how can companies as well, private companies such as yours, address such issues, because what is staggering is that a 2023 report by the European Trading Foundation clearly stated that 51.3 metric tons of e-waste every year and only 1% recycled, with the remaining 99% of the generated e-waste ends up in dump sites and waterways, causing soil, water and air pollution, meaning that the current laws are yet to be felt by managing e-waste in the country. That is the other issue. Are these laws being fully implemented?
I would say dependent on each manufacturer. Each manufacturer tries their best to be able to follow into these rules and regulations, because at the end of the day, we want a world or on an earth that will always continue being there. So through different ways, through different mechanics, each manufacturer, such as OPPO, are looking at different ways whereby they can be able to implement such rules. Yes.
And of course, in your company, are you creating what do you call self-awareness and ensuring that your customers, not only your customers, but the potential customers that you're going to get currently awoke in terms of climate change matters?
To some extent, yes, we do. This is through when we have forums. Most of the time it's only from the international basis. When you have forums, we're able to educate each and every of our users that as a company, these are the ways that we're able to reduce waste. And also, we can also try and show our users how best they can also help in terms of reducing their waste. Yes.
And earlier on, you were talking about artificial intelligence. Of course, these are new trends that are coming in the technological world. So how are you keeping up with AI?
It is very interesting, very, very interesting, fun. There are things such as the use of AI in terms of photo editing, whereby previously you'd find that if I want to edit, I want to remove my picture or a part of my body from an image, I'd be able to use a third-party software. But right now, through the latest version of the OPPO Reno 11 series, you're able to edit all of these things within the phone. You don't need to have a third-party option, and you also don't really need to be well-versed in editing of this.
Does anymore, because if these advancements continue, these machines are taking over our jobs. So how are you also addressing those issues?
So for that, we are not taking up AI completely and completely removing the human aspect of it. What we are using as a company is being able to merge both solutions. AI is able to detect for us. You can use 1, 2, 3, and also we can also be able to implement AI's recommendations through a human touch. Yes.
And of course, what are some of the impacts that you have been able to witness, given that you have been in this field for how many years now?
In the Kenyan market, this is the 10th year.
Yes.
Globally, it's 20 years.
Yes, you see, being that those are 2 decades you have been in this particular industry. So in terms of ensuring, promoting sustainability, not just for the economy, but for the environment as well, given that I'm going back to that issue, is because you're currently witnessing the climate changes that we're currently experiencing here in the country. So in terms of industry-wide initiatives aimed at reducing some of these environmental challenges, and of course for economic sustainability for your company and the country as well. So what are some of the initiatives the company is taking?
So there are 3 major initiatives that OPPO is taking. One, through the use of, for our packaging, we're able to use 100% recyclable materials. The other thing is through manufacturing of our products. There's a mechanism called battery health engine, whereby if you look at a typical phone, the battery would last for around 2 years, but through our proprietary battery health engine, our phone is able to last more than 2 years. More than 2 years. To a minimum is around 4 or 5 years, but it can go longer depending on how a user is able to, how a user uses it. Yes.
What are some of the challenges you're experiencing currently?
In terms of,
yes.
There are a lot. There is the aspect of trying to adjust to the climate, with being able to adjust to new trends, new technologies. So each and every day there's always a challenge, and we're always trying to make sure that we can be able to go through the challenge and give our users a better experience.
Now, given that demands for smartphones are all over the world, and especially here in country, with smartphone cameras continues to rise, how do manufacturers balance between the push of technological achievements with the need for sustainable manufacturing practices and resource conservation?
Through that, we are able to, there are a few things that we are doing in terms of using of like the battery health engine that I've just talked about. That one is able to expand a product's lifeline. So instead of using it for 2 years, use it for 4 or 5 years. The other thing is, again, through the use of trade-in programs, whereby a phone, by the time you're done with a phone, it doesn't even a new lease of life to another user. So those are the kind of major things that we're doing as a company to be able to take up the users constantly wanting something new, but also considering the environment.
You've just seen the latest push by the current administration, which is the government. They're talking about manufacturing our own devices here in the country, and especially have they been able to talk to companies such as you? Are they involving you, given that public and private partnership has been able to boost many businesses here in the country?
Yes, we are in talks we're always looking for new ways whereby you can always work with the government. So this is something that we are open to.
And of course with devices, given that now if those phones are being built here in the country, it will mean it is cheaper. And as Kenyans, we love cheaper things, and especially cheap and free.
Yes.
So in what ways do smartphone manufacturers collaborate with suppliers, regulatory bodies, and other industry stakeholders to promote sustainability, ethical practices throughout the smartphone supply chain on an industry-wide scale?
So that we use a lot of checks and balances, whereby you'd find a company says this is how we would expect all of our products and services to be made, to be distributed. So we follow strict and stringent ways, even with our suppliers and even the other people past our suppliers, to be able to just follow a well put out structure and format. Yes.
And of course, in terms of policies, is there a shortfall in terms of policies? We're just talking about these laws that are being failed to be fully implemented. Should we change the laws, or what does your company have? Do you have policies that you can recommend to the government?
That one definitely will have to talk to government on a different level. But for us, a brand, we are always looking for ways to just make our users and our supply chain and every other person who's involved in our ecosystem to be able to follow through with the promises that we make, so that we can always have a good world.
And of course, recommendations that you may have, given that they are watching us right now?
I would say just follow through in terms of the promises that have been made for us to be able to just work better. Yes.
Thank you so much. Your final remarks?
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for making time for us this afternoon. That is Frederick Acheng, the Communications Manager at OPPO Kenya, and we wish you all the best. And thank you for making time for us in terms of electronic waste processes here in the country.